Stalin's coercion, industrial power at the cost of enormous human sacrifice. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks seized power in the name of the working class. But there was a problem. Russia was not a country of workers. It was a country of peasants. The Bolshevik self-proclaimed workers' state now ruled a country where industrial laborers made up only a tiny fraction of society. This contradiction would shape the future of the Soviet Union and lead to one of the most ambitious and brutal transformations in modern history. After the chaos of revolution, civil war and war communism, the Bolsheviks introduced the new economic policy, NEP, a partial return to market economics. For a time, it worked. Industry recovered. Markets revived. But by 1923, a dangerous imbalance emerged, so-called the scissors crisis. Industrial goods became expensive. Agricultural goods remained cheap. Peasants stopped selling grain. Cities began to feel the pressure of food shortages. In May 1927, British Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin presented Soviet telegrams to the House of Commons, which proved Soviet espionage activities, leading to a rupture in diplomatic relations and triggering the Soviet war scare of 1927, increasing Soviet citizens' fears of invasion. By 1928, grain shortages escalated into the full-blown Soviet grain procurement crisis, stemming from the Bolsheviks' inability to use pricing policy effectively to secure sufficient grain volumes. In the 1920s, the Soviet Union's heavy industry, including the military industry, was weak and could not compete with that of developed European countries. All these crises could have destroyed the Soviet Union, and to overcome them, rapid industrialization of heavy industry was required. In 1928, Joseph Stalin, party leader of the Soviet Union, launched the first five-year plan. Its goal was to transform the Soviet Union into an industrial superpower at any cost. However, without food, industrialization is impossible. But the grain procurement crisis prevented the Bolsheviks from obtaining the necessary amount of food. Stalin saw not just an economic problem, but a political threat. He blamed wealthier peasants, so-called kulaks, for sheltering grain. He decided to end the compromises and, in late December 1929, started the campaign of repression known as Dekulakization, conducted by the Joint State Political Directorate, Russian abbreviation, UGPU. By 1933, more than 2 million wealthy peasants were deported to special settlements, a form of internal exile, in remote regions. Between 20,000 and 30,000 wealthy peasants were executed by extrajudicial commissions, the so-called Special Troika. Their property, livestock and land were confiscated. To obtain the necessary food supplies, the Bolsheviks decided to transform the agricultural sector through collectivization. Private farms were abolished. Millions were forced into collective farms. However, peasants on collective farms often lacked the necessary technical skills or motivation to work properly, resulting in poor soil cultivation, low productivity, and huge losses. Resistance was fierce, including the Buryat Revolt in 1928, the I-Saxon Rebellion in Georgia in 1929, and the Kazime Rebellion in Western Siberia in 1933. The state responded with repression, mass deportations, and executions. Then came the Soviet famine between 1930 and 1933. In Ukraine, the Holodomor, also known as the Ukrainian famine, killed millions. In Kazakhstan, which was a major grain producer, another catastrophic event, the Kazakh famine, devastated the population. To this day, Historians debate how much was policy, how much was failure and how much was intent. While the countryside suffered, industry surged. Factories rose, and cities expanded rapidly. Foreign engineers from Germany and the United States arrived, and technologies and equipment were imported from these countries. Steel, coal, and machinery production skyrocketed. But the industrialization in the Soviet Union had a cost. Chronic shortages of basic necessities, and a strict and inadequate system of food rationing in the cities. Massive inefficiency. Industrialization policies prioritized production volume over quality. In Soviet practice, managers were evaluated based on quotas rather than sales volumes, leading to the production of low-quality products that spoiled quickly. Massive waste. The drive for rapid, high-volume production has resulted in unusable industrial products. Inexperienced workers, improper use of technology and a lack of spare parts led to industrial equipment being abandoned or destroyed. Harsh labor discipline. Movement was restricted. Workers faced strict controls by the OGPU political police. Punishments were severe. Forced labor camps created the Gulag economy. Industrialization was not driven by enthusiasm, as Soviet propaganda tried to portray. It relied on coercion. Millions died from famine, repression, and exhaustion. Entire communities were uprooted. Was the cost inevitable? Bolshevik industrialization and collectivization transformed the country in one generation. It created immense power and immense suffering. The revolution, which promised to expand workers' rights and give land to the peasants, ended up turning them into slaves.